Okay, we found some pretty good stuff here, I think. We've been bow hunting. Bow season's open. We've been bow hunting back on the back side of this big broken wood lot back in here, but I've been kind of up on this side. Hadn't really scouted this side or been up in this side. It's the middle of the day, so we're not really going to disturb nothing, I don't think, because they're all bedded. But I think we found where the deer have been bedded at. If you look behind there, and this is something I want to talk about, because a lot of you, you know, you've been emailing me and asking me questions. In fact, the other day I got an email that I thought was really a good question, and that was the email asked and said, how do you find feeding and bedding areas? Well, it's very simple how you find what they're feeding and what they're bedded in. Just think of this: every day you get up, every day that you get to go to work, or wherever you go to the grocery store, wherever, there's something you got to take to get there, and that's a road. Well, out here in the deer woods, roads are trails. So trails connect to feeding and bedding areas. Okay. All right. In this broken wood lot down here, I found a lot of sign. In fact, on this whole farm, there's no rubs, there's no kind of buck sign whatsoever on the backside where we've been hunting. Even though the bucks, you know, I've seen some bucks back there, but there's just not a lot of sign to where they're at. I come up here and man, I mean, there's rubs and just droppings and there's a lot of buck sign. But here's why. If you look right behind me, man, if you just look on the other side of this, there's a power line back here. And this thing is just thick and nasty and briars and thick. It's so thick you can't even walk in it. I mean, you'd have to have beagles to run rabbits out there. You just have to stand out here. That's how thick it is. I mean, and all of this nasty stuff back in here. All right, if you look back to here, you'll see these fields, and you'll see right down on the below here, there's a big alfalfa field and a big old milo field down here. And you can drive by that field every evening just about. You'll see the main road way up there, but you see, you know, just 30, 40 deer out in that field every evening. Now, what does that tell me? Well, in most regions of the country, you're really hunting some kind of broken wood lot. And broken wood lot's this. You have a patch of woods over here, what I call patch of woods. You have patch of woods over here, and right in between of them, you'll have, you know, fields or whatever. Well, you'll find these trails, which are roads, again, into the whitetail world. You'll find these trails. Trails connect to feeding and bedding areas. So, but a lot of times, and this is the misleading thing, because I've actually hunted over trails. You know, if you find a big trail, looks like a cattle run through there, man, you get excited. You're like, man, I'm gonna set my stand right here. You know, if there's a big run right through here. In fact, they actually are. There's a big trail that goes around this field. And you know, if you set your stand up, now you look up in this tree here, and you know, you'd think that'd be a pretty good place for a tree stand, wouldn't it? Well, I'm gonna show you something. You could probably sit here to see, you know, yearlings and does and maybe some small bucks, but when you're hunting that different breed of deer, that mature buck, a lot of times he won't even use these main trails. Now, he might in the rut. When the rut hits and he's chasing these does, you hunt where the does is at. And if the does, you know, that's where you want to go. But in the early season, you know, a lot of times these deer or these bucks in the early season, they'll be close to these trails, scent checking does, you know, because, you know, we're still 3 or 4 weeks from the pre-rut, you know, really, and about a month from the rut itself. But, you know, they're always looking. You know, they're just like a man. They're always looking. So they're scent checking these trails. But instead of walking out in these trails, let me show you what they'll do. And there's a good sign, and there's a good sign of this right down here. I'm gonna show you. So we'll go down the hill, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay. Now that we're in the timber, I'll finish what I was talking about. Now up here, about 100 yards up there on top where we just was at, where we showed you all that thick, nasty stuff. Right up on top, that's exactly where they're bedded at. Down here, about 150 yards, I guess, right down at the end of this holler is a big alfalfa, milo field, and all that. That you know, all the 25, 30 deer out in the evenings are coming to. All right, we've been seeing. Okay, this is just one, probably about a 30-acre, I guess, wood lot right in here that connects both of them. Okay, so what's that tell us? Well, It tells us that the trails or the roads, you remember the roads, they got to take roads. It's like we take roads, they take roads, and it's called trails. Well, the roads are going right through here, all right, in the early season. We're not talking about the rut. We're not talking about, when they're chasing does, because in the rut, a month from now, you don't want to hunt. You want to hunt where the does is at. If the does is out in the milo field, that's where you want to be. If they're up here in the bed, that's where you want to be. If they're back here, that's where you want to be. But right now in the early season, these bucks, they get up on these ridges, they bed down. It's hot, it's muggy, and a lot of you've been writing emails to say, I'm just having a tough time in the early season. Finding any buck sign, finding any bucks at all. It's just like I can find them in November, but I can't find them in October. Well, here's probably why. Now, that field that we just come out of, there's one huge just deer trail that comes all the way like a racetrack. I mean, it's just, and beds. I mean, there's beds right down in it. Well, you say, well, that's probably where they're at. Probably where the does and the yearlings and maybe the small bucks are at. But look at this. We're about 50 yards inside the woods here. Now that big main deer trail is 50 yards or 60 yards, I guess, from me. But look here. There's no rubs and there's no indication that there's any kind of buck sign going through here. But look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one back here, 6, 7. I see another one right up there, 8. There's at least 8 or so. There's at least 8 or so rubs right along in here. And I guarantee, because I did it the other day. I did it the other evening. I just kept going up this hill, and there's just rub after rub after rub all the way till you get to the bedding area. Okay. And I guarantee if we walk down here, which I ain't been down there yet, but if we walk down here to head this holler and we come all the way up, there'd probably be more rubs. But look, if you go 80 yards that way, 80 yards this way, there's no rubs. There's just one little old 25, 30 yard little strip here where all the rubs and droppings and trails is at. But what I was talking about trails is a lot of bow hunters, they'll say, well, that's where we want to be, where the big trails is at, where it looks like cattle. That's where they're going to come. Maybe in the rut, if you want to, if you want to try to find them, maybe in the rut. But right now, what's he doing? Bucks usually, if they're mature bucks, and then this is why it makes me think this is a mature buck. An older deer, because bucks are not sociable. They might be in the summertime and be bachelored up, but once it gets, the end of September, October, and they don't get sociable at all. That's why they stay off to themselves. So a big trail like that can fool you, and you can say, oh, and you can sit over there, and and you can be looking for Pacific deer, like a mature buck or something that's nice you want to shoot, and you think, man, I'm seeing doe after doe after doe, and where's the buck at? Well, a lot of times you get back just away because these bucks, they will not go. They won't go over where the heaviest deer traffic is. They'll stay away from them and just go on these little, what I call faint trails. Now look here, right up through here. Just look and see what I call faint trails. They're not that great big racetrack, cattle path looking trail, but right through here. Look at these tracks right here going up, and this track here. And there's this little bitty trail, like right here. There's a track, and this little trail going right up through there. And there's these little faint trails. And in other words, there's not a lot of deer on there. It's just maybe one, 2 deer maybe. A buck and maybe another buck following him or something. I don't know. Maybe just the only buck, but they're little faint trails. That's what you want to look for. So what I'm going to do is, actually, I think it's so thick in here, and it's so brushy, I actually think I'm just going to go up here and just, there's all kinds of laying down logs in here. I actually think I'm going to just brush me in like a homemade blind, do it old school, go back and just watch this flat the next few days, because I guarantee you, this is a faint trail that's carrying something good on it. Now we could go over here, and probably see, deer, but if you want something with a rack on it, you got to get back just away. And why do they do this? Well, they do this because they're still scent checking. See, they don't know it's October. They just know that they don't sit and look at a calendar and say, well, here in about 3 weeks, then we can start smelling. No, they're scent checking every day. They see a doe. Well, they do. And instead of going over there they'll go on these little faint trails, get in this brush, because the deer don't need a lot of cover to feel secure. But he'll go right up these little faint trails, and that's why you can go over. You can just go right over here or over here, either which way, and there's hardly no sign. Maybe there's a few sign over there too. But all of this sign out here is mostly yearlings, does, and maybe some small bucks. And actually, we've seen some small bucks just right over here the last couple of days. But I know there's a nice deer in here. We've seen him. I know he's here, and we've seen a couple of good ones. And I guarantee you, this is one of them's faint trail. This is one of them's trail. And if you want to kill a buck in the early season, don't hunt the main trails. Look for these little ones with the rubs on it. Look for the little faint trails. Look for the little the droppings. Just one or two little piles of droppings, and they're all around here. There was some right over there. You go up here. There's a little bit more. So these are little faint trails. So that's where you want to hunt in the early season. So maybe that'll help some of y'all in the early season. Maybe you're having a struggle trying to find a buck. You're seeing all kinds of does, and but you're just having a hard time maybe finding that buck. I guarantee you put the time in. And we're going to do it in this flat. There's going to be a good one come through here because the sign is all pointing to it. So we want to get right here on this road. We want to get on this, instead of worrying about all the does and yearlings over there, we're going to get in here. And we're going to wait for him to come up his road. And hopefully, maybe get a pretty good buck. So maybe that'll help you. So look for them faint trails and look for the little rubs and look for the little signs away from the main trails. And them's usually the ones. And usually they'll be, maybe 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60 yards, off of the main trail. That's where you want to start looking because they're not going to be too far away from the main traffic. They're going to be far enough to be secure, but they're going to be close enough to scent check them. So maybe that'll help you, and I hope it helps you. And until the next video, be safe, have a great season, and shoot straight, and God bless you.